I just did a legal psychedelic journey. In a professional clinic with a licensed facilitator here in America, in freaking Texas, and I documented the whole thing. I want to talk about it. All right, this was about 5 months ago, so I also want to talk about the ongoing effects of this kind of experience, but let's start at the beginning, just after my psych evaluation and my initial consultation with my guide. Okay, so I just had my sit-down meeting with the facilitator, Joseph. I've got my notes here. One thing that was really interesting, this idea that practices build our foundation, and this ketamine can really do some blasting. Now, I've been on maybe 15 psychedelic plant medicine, entheogenic journeys like this. The first was in 2018. That was an ayahuasca ceremony. That was 2 nights. It was my first psychedelic. I was not prepared in these experiences for how primordial, old, how weird. You know, there's this saying, the universe is not weirder than we think, it's weirder than we can think. And maybe that plays a role in this blasting away. There have been these benefits of blowing open the doors and the windows, knocking off the old barnacles. I think that is very much a part of these psychedelic journeys, the therapeutic side of them. And I will also tell you that I highly recommend getting what is called an integration support, okay? Because yes, you will blast off and see things in different ways. You will have experiences that feel completely otherworldly. And yes, you will come right back here. You will come right back to this regular world where you are right now. And the work of integrating, folding it in like you're kneading a dough between these new experiences, these new ways of thinking, neuroplasticity and the fresh connections that have been made here with your existing life, okay? Getting some support in integration is something that has proven extremely valuable for me in psychedelic journeys. That's the art in applying these experiences to your real life. So I guess it's a good time to tell you all of this is going to be happening at a place called Kuya, right in the heart of South Austin, Texas. It's this nature-inspired massive lounge that also features an IV drip bar, along with sauna and cold plunge, these float tanks that are incredible, as well as massage chair rooms. And upstairs, there's this legal ketamine clinic with rooms that have all these different decors. I chose the forest theme decor for my journey. We're doing it on March 20th, which is the 1-year anniversary of the day my brother passed away last year. So this isn't just like a, hey, I'm gonna try some ketamine and see what it's like. I like drugs, let's try it out. It's supposed to be really helpful too. This is for me. This isn't taking care of my mom or my dad. This isn't helping my 14-year-old son process his uncle. This is helping the older brother of a 2-brother family process losing my younger brother, my younger, bigger brother. Remember that cave rescue of the kids in Thailand? They actually used ketamine to aid in that rescue. Ketamine is an FDA-approved dissociative anesthetic drug. It's been used for over 50 years. And it's also a common party drug, as well as something used to knock out animals for veterinary services. So ketamine is a very well-studied drug, apparently. We've been using it for a long time. We still don't fully know, it sounds like, how it works. There's some ideas about glutamate receptors. In some doses, ketamine speeds up and it increases the glutamate reception going on. And in heavier doses, it actually slows down and decreases. If you have repeated stress over a long period of time, those glutamate receptors get inhibited, right? And the ketamine can actually help them to start refiring again. This is something doctors have said, and they've also said but we're still not completely sure how it works. But there are a lot of promising results from research about treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, especially chronic pain and things like that, with ketamine. It's also potentially addictive, right? So as a party drug, it has, people like this. And if you get used to it, I think you can get really used to it. So I'm going into a clinic, working with professionals, and I'm getting it intravenously. Today's the day. There's been so much processing leading up to this. Like just having this on the calendar has caused so many things to come up. So it caused me to think about so much stuff. My mom called me last night and she said, "You're such a tough little guy." And then your brother came along and got all the love from everybody, which is such a succinct way of putting what might be the absolute core of my whole personality. First of all, being open and curious. I don't know what this is going to be like, and I am here to experience it. I want to explore the part of me that doesn't feel nourished, that was passed up, basically, when my brother came, I think. I'm interested in thinking and exploring what the kingdom I want to build is. What am I doing here? Especially the last year, it's just been like survive. I just want to survive. I want to feel like I've got, like it's not terrifying all the time. How do I feel about my divorce from my previous partner, Melissa? We have 3 kids, one of which passed away. How do I feel about spending some nights away from my children? I think I mostly know how I feel about these things, but maybe there's parts of me maybe there's sadness in there that I'm not touching yet. One of the great possibilities about psychedelic or entheogenic experiences is it's possible, it's not always the case, but it's possible that you can touch feelings that you have been feeling for a long time but not aware of. I wonder often if there's some great sadness down in me that I'm just terrified to touch. Because the truth that it comes with is, to my current personality or psychological state, unsurmountable. So am I gonna be lying down?
So lying down is usually, it's your, this whole thing is your input. So
okay.
Whatever you feel comfortable. I've done some sessions since I'm a meditator. I wanted to be in meditation posture.
Yeah.
That worked for me.
And the body can stay upright.
And the body
like that.
Yeah, any of that is fair game. But we do have a nice big area to lay. Nice weighted blanket for you.
Okay, so Joe and I talked for maybe 45, a little over an hour, something like that. Then a doctor came in and we said a little prayer and she gave me the injection and I had my experience. And here was my face afterwards. Whoa, dude. I don't know what I thought that was gonna be. Seeing things from a much more elevated point of view. Joe, my facilitator, is a magic man. Holding space for me for probably, I'd say it was mostly like an hour, better part of an hour that I was just silent there, right?
Yeah.
Did you notice me
Did not move.
Did not move, right? And I noticed a few moments where it was deep breath.
Yes, that's what I'll track is your breathing is getting even deeper. Oh,
yeah.
Good. That means your nervous system is chilling out.
And even still, it's what are we at now? An hour and a half after? Or?
Yeah.
And it's still just okay, we're still just working the robot. We actually used some of these pillows for some Gestalt therapy. I called it Pillow Talk with Joe.
Say hello to our friends here.
Yeah, that was Chris. It was radical, actually, before the ketamine. And, all right, here's my brother is this pillow. What do we want to say to him? Oh, here's my former partner. What do we want to say to her? Oh, here's the you as a kid that wasn't able to show that you were jealous or afraid or something. So it's it was strong introductory stuff to get me into more of a heartfelt space before going into a very trippy experience. It's strange to just be done with that experience. Totally in a spaciousness, what I call like a medicine space, you know, like a space, like it's like a workshop almost. It's a silly name for it, but it's a place where you can think about things. It wasn't like a major visual thing for me. Very rarely are psychedelic experiences super visual for me. I'm normally like closed eyes, inside, feeling, and like feels almost like I'm pulling like gentle threads in my body and like, oh, you got a snag here. The music really guided the whole thing. I mean, the molecule really guided the whole thing. The music ended up fitting perfectly with it. Don't come with the perspective that you're going to go into a medicine space and be able to capture very specific things out of it. That's a very mental orientation. Instead, think of it as like these things that you're feeling, seeing, thinking are going through the body in meaningful ways that are making a difference. You don't have to, in your mind, remember them, collect them, organize them. More on this point. Going into a journey thinking that you're going to have to remember everything it kind of stressed me out. Especially in longer journeys, like 6 hours of strong plant medicine. There were so many experiences in that it kind of stressed me out with putting the pressure on to like remember everything. So this idea that, hey, it's working, it's productive, it's doing what it needs to be just by you having this experience. Like the experience in your body itself is the therapy, not just how you think about it later or what meaning you make about it. There is this very tremendous sensation inside of the ketamine for me where you're actually quite lucid. There was a strong sense of myself in there, watching what was going on, and also the strong sense of that I was just kind of going through the waves of wherever this molecule was taking me. I remembered it. Like I felt, if I would have tried to talk, I think I would have been very surprised. Like, oh wait, never mind, I can't talk right now. But I felt very present through the entire thing. Like it was my mind. It was my voice in my head. There was definitely moments where it was almost like something would come up, and I didn't know if I really I felt kind of clenched against it. I felt kind of resistant to it. And Joe had given me the advice that like, be open to going into things that are uncomfortable. Be open to going into things that are challenging instead of just floating on top of the things that feel really good. And so I would like opt for, leaning into some of the maybe challenging things. And you could kind of put your attention on something like this big giant eye and focus on it. And then that thing would become more substantial. Or you could kind of like neglect it and choose to like look away and something else would emerge. Okay, this lucid attention was definitely a hallmark of the ketamine experience for me. I felt like I could really direct my attention. I could really remember, for example, I could have had a note and just been like, oh, I want to inquire about this, and I had agency there, which is important because in some journeys that I've been on, there felt like there was a lot less agency. Like I was at the whim of the intelligence behind this plant medicine or molecule or substance. I was definitely located in a kind of wise, neutral, calm standpoint in my mind, though I still had access to my emotions, primarily sadness in this experience, which is somewhat normal for me. But this lucid attention, I think, was partly facilitated by, Joseph being my guide and the trust. I just felt good about him and there was a trust there. Also the coziness of that room, just the comfort, like we had our own little space and it was all soft and cushy and it just like we had spent like an hour plus in there relating and chatting and doing the Gestalt therapy, and that all made me feel comfortable. But then also I have had experience with these kinds of altered states before. For all those reasons, I felt comfortable going into this, and I think that plays a role in that lucid attention. If you go in with anxiety, what's his name calls psychedelics non-specific amplifiers, right? So whatever's there, it's going to amplify that. That's why set and setting are so important, and why working with professionals can be so helpful. So just another call out on this idea of integration, what happens afterwards. Professionals can really help with that. Arguably because, to be honest, for me, psychedelic journeys, these kinds of experiences they tend to come with insights, shifts in mindset, new areas of awareness. And I think this is what Joe was saying when he's talking about ketamine can blast away, because I create stories that then I live in. These stories feel very durable, they last, and they may or may not be true, and they may not serve me. I have a powerful psychedelic experience or something in therapy, something in, lots of different ways I've experienced these kinds of insights, but the insight tends to erode or remove or evaporate or dissolve one of these stories, and then there's a new way of thinking that's possible. There's a new way of seeing things, and ketamine can definitely blast away at those. Another reason why that integration that happens afterwards, that's where the art is in applying these big, authentic experiences to getting it into your life, needing it in. There was lots of the ketamine experience where I would say I felt very present with other people, other people who weren't there. Experiencing them in an emotional or in an energetic kind of way. I wanted to be with my brother Chris. I wanted to see if there was an encounter that could happen there, but I remember just kind of stepping in and go oh, Chris is not here. There wasn't a need or a demand that I brought. And I think that's important. Nobody told me not to bring that need or demand. I just kind of knew it. I wasn't in there frustrated. It's where's Chris? It was, and my brother who passed away. I think I've kind of learned that over time. You don't want to bring necessarily need or demand about stuff, more of a curiosity of okay, you're in the forest, what's here? You don't get sad that there's not a unicorn. There's a common story that I hear with MDMA or ketamine assisted therapy where it's you can get to it. I worked with a therapist for so long and I couldn't quite get to the thing, the trauma, the pain behind it, I didn't really know. And then I took mushrooms and I, you get to touch that thing, you get to that core wound thing. I want to say two things about this. One of them is that this is the big hope about psychedelic therapies, right? That you can absolutely get into the thing that has been holding you back, that you've been stuck in. And I can speak firsthand that is totally possible. And number two is don't fall victim to the fantasy that all I have to do is take this pill and then I'll be healed. That is something that I actually expected and wanted for a while. And the expectation and the desire for that kept me searching and maybe going around in circles for longer than I needed to. Because, I don't know, if you're curious about that, ask in the comments. So don't fall victim to that expectation that you're just gonna take this pill, get this shot, take this drug, and now you're fixed and healed. It's more active than that. And I'll say that this ketamine is such an approachable therapy. It's such an approachable experience. There's ways to walk yourself into it lightly with a guide, and there's legal spaces now all over the country where you can do this. And it is approachable because it doesn't come with any nausea, in my experience, compared to other things that I've experienced that have they just have a much wider range of experiences. I'm no expert. I have experienced ketamine a few times. I was set up really well for this one. Who knows what it's going to be like if you step into it. That's why it's so important to find some crew that you trust. So here's my recommendations, right? Work with a professional place. I worked with Kuya here in Austin. I'll link to them below. That has psych evaluation, professional staff, everything that you need, the room itself, the lighting, think about that stuff. I've seen footage of a lot of ketamine clinics that have just terrible lighting. You're going to be in an eye mask. It really kind of doesn't matter, honestly, in some ways. But I loved the way that Kuya had the rooms set up. Find a place that you trust and start interacting with who might be your guide to find someone you just feel good about. It's nice to have that agency in your own journey. And in the past, I've just kind of been I guess let's just see what let's just see what happens. I'm very interested in the long-term effects of doing this semi-regularly, like say like every 2 weeks for several sessions, and then spreading it out longer over time. That sounds with working with the same facilitator and guide, like that seems like such an interesting way to get into this space and really be in what I call the inquiry. You're in inquiry with yourself. You're in this space. You're in this temple. You're in this temple, the space where you're like, what am I here? Like, what do I want to know? What am I in? And you're looking at stuff. And sometimes the stuff talks back. And I'm interested in that. I'm interested in like when my subconscious can help me see things, potentially. Approach this with humility. Approach it with humility. And not just humility, but I would say compassion for yourself. Physician, heal thyself. Start to create an attitude in yourself towards compassion about your own journey, because you'll get there eventually. You'll have compassion on yourself eventually. Just start now. And then the final piece is this: you can ask of anything that comes up in your journey. What are you trying to help me see? How are you trying to help me? Again, to this physician, heal thyself. It just puts you a little bit in the cockpit, making the decisions and figuring it out. But all that said, here I am, like fucking average white dude telling you how to take drugs. These are not drugs, they're medicines, they're entheogenic, they're therapeutic, psychedelic. One of the most interesting things about all of these is that they are a very powerful, authentic experience that is happening to you, not somebody else, to you. Do you know what psychedelic means? Psychedelic means mind manifesting, mind revealing, that are showing you something about yourself, your own true nature. You're not in a different world, you're in the same world. You're not in a different room, you're in the same room. And yet, your experience of it can change dramatically, especially with the eye mask on and the music. I guess that'll be like the final little tip, is that idea of eye mask and music going, it's like this vision. You just kind of go inward, and then all of a sudden, you're way out there. It's hard to talk about this stuff. It's hard to talk about this stuff and not sound like a loony. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please comment. Let me hear what you're wondering. Also your experiences. Share them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Kuya for helping put this together by basically sponsoring me to go through this. It was really awesome to celebrate the first anniversary of my brother's passing this way. And I guess there's more to come, right? It's such a long journey, actually. Bye.